Hello YouTube, Scamp Wolf here, back with another video for your viewing pleasure. And in this video, we're going to be looking at the Architects' discography. We're ranking them from best to worst once again, because I already did a video like this back when the Classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit came out. That was 2.5 years ago. Now there's a new album out, so we got to figure out where does everything rank now. And I've also had some time in between then to really hone in my thoughts on each album and you know all that jazz. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into it now. The one I have at the bottom out of 11 albums. There's 11 albums in the discography. The one I have at the bottom currently, and I hate to say this, um, it's the Here and Now. Simply put, this is a very weak album in my opinion. Like, there's not really that much to this album. It's very rough sounding, and the band even said that they didn't care for this album that much compared to like their other work at the time. So yeah, this is just kind of a misfire in my personal opinion. Um there is some decent stuff here and there. Day in day out is fine. Heartburn, that's an alright track even though the band didn't really like it. But yeah, the rest of the album just doesn't really land that much, especially when you get to songs like The Blues. Man, this song is a very big letdown as far as I'm concerned. It's still not a terrible album by any means necessary. I mean, it has like there's nothing like awful on it, but I mean like at the same time it's just kind of there. So, yeah, that's the unfortunate truth about this album, the Here and Now by Architects. Not a great album, but it's not really all that bad, but whatever. And again, another one that's like kind of a misfire in their discography, which isn't really all that bad, but it is kind of a bad Architects album. This one, Classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit. This one, I honestly don't remember much from it. I don't remember much, and the stuff that I do remember, it sounded kind of generic. Like, you have some good stuff on here. Tear Gas, pretty good song, I must say. Burn Down My House, I've always really enjoyed. Um, when We Were Young, fine. Be Very Afraid is fine. The rest of this I don't really remember that much, other than like for reasons where I'm just like, wow, like this album doesn't leave that much of an impact. I'm sorry to really say. It's just kind of there in their discography, and this came like only a year and like 18 months or something after For Those That Wish to Exist, which was released in 2021. So I mean, like, way to like go out with that. But I mean, like, this album, it isn't bad. Once again, it's just forgettable. It's just very forgettable. Now we move on to what was formerly my least favorite of their discography, which now it moved up a couple spots. So hey, good for this album, I guess. This one is Ruin. This is their second album, first with Sam Carter, and like the reason this is like not as bad is like this was Sam Carter's first album with the band Architects. So, of course, his vocals aren't going to be as fleshed out as they would in albums that are like ahead of it in the discography. I guess you could say. Um, there's some solid stuff on here. Buried at Sea, Hunt Them Down, like those are good. Even something like Low, I think, is pretty solid. And another fun fact: the song North Lane. That's how the band North Lane got their name. So, on that level, hey, at least it inspired another really good band. Yeah, and Broken Clocks, which is a bonus track they released a year after this album. It's also a pretty solid track, but vocally it just wasn't really there yet. Sam Carter had some time to like really like find out what he wanted to do vocally on this album compared to other albums, and as a result, it just kind of made it a little bit off-putting. But I understand why this was vocally different than other albums. But this is still, like, musically a pretty good album, for sure. Um, and it has some pretty solid stuff on it. Just not their best, in my opinion. So yeah, that is Ruin by Architects. Again, not one of the better albums, but still not all that bad. And we go down to this one here, Daybreaker. Again, kind of like with classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit. This one, again, isn't very memorable to my opinion. It's only memorable probably because Ollie Sykes of Bring Me the Horizon was on a track, but like even then, it's just like this album doesn't really bring any memory to it whatsoever. And if I had heard this album when it came out in 2012, I would have thought that Architects was just going to be a generic band until like I would find out their evolution. But we'll get to that later, obviously. But Daybreaker is just kind of, there's Alpha Omega, of course. Devil's Island, the aforementioned track with Ollie Sykes. Even if you win, you're still a rat. Whatever. I don't really come back to this album, so I haven't really like listened to it that much. But it is better than the other three. I will say that for sure. Like it is slightly better, but it's still not Architects' like strongest work to date, for sure. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this album. This is back when they were going by Architects UK because I think there might have been a copyright on the name Architects, but like that's since been taken care of since albums like since have been just Architects because a lot of people now know who Architects is and what they represent. So, yep, that's Architects. And here's a rarity here. This is their first album, Nightmares, and yeah, this is kind of an enjoyable album, I think, like in the history of Architects and also like what they were back then. This is a very interesting album. It's nothing like anything else in their discography because trust me, there is a lot of like mathcore. There's a lot of like there's not a lot of clean vocals on it. It's a lot of screams. This was like when the lead vocals, I think his name is Matt, was in this band instead of Sam Carter. And then yeah, there's a lot of solid tracks in here. In the Death is one. You Don't Walk Away From Dismemberment, that's a solid one. This Confession Means Nothing. Yeah, there's some solid stuff on here. Like again, not one of their best, but like Nightmares is still like an interesting listen for what it is in Architect's discography, for sure. So if no one's ever seen this before, like if you haven't seen this the inside of the album and stuff before, I'm showing it to you now. Like this is kind of what I've been doing for. I'm gonna do this for videos that are like more like discography rankings from now on. Just shove off the CD. I'm gonna try to do that. Might not be for every single one, but whatever. So yeah, like this is a rare find, and if you manage to find this album, you are very good, I guess. But you probably have other rare albums too, so whatever. Now we move on to the good stuff from Architects, the actual really good stuff. So at number 6, we actually have their latest album, The Sky, the Earth, and All Between, which is a very good album, I must say. Very good. It is definitely more modern, for sure, with like a lot of more radio rock, radio friendly kind of stuff going on. But done well, done way better than classic Symptoms, that's for sure. And there is some very good songs on here, like Whiplash and Black Hole. Those are good songs. Everything Ends and Broken Mirror. Those two songs are probably two of my favorites on the album. I think they convey a really good feeling. I think they're like excellent. Like Broken Mirror especially has a really good hook on both verse and chorus. Fantastic hook there. And then there's other good songs too. Landmines, Judgment Day, and Curse. Like, yeah, I just think this album all around is a return to form for Architects after arguably not their best effort. Like, and this is also more Bring Me the Horizon influence. Of course, everybody has said that about this album, so I mean, you could tell Jordan Fish produced it, and yeah, I think he did a good job. I think like Architects is a little bit easier to digest than Bring Me the Horizon for sure. For people who like find that band to be a little more chaotic, like and off the walls, like this is a pretty safe option, and I guess that's what they're good at, Architects, with their album The Sky, The Earth, and All Between, which is a pretty good album. Next up, we got Lost, Forever Lost Together. I kind of get it mixed up. I was kind of wanting to say the other way around. Lost Together, Lost Forever. But that's not what it is. Lost Forever, Lost Together is the album title, and this is another really good album. This is when like I first found out about Architects back when in 2014. Didn't really like pick up the album necessarily, but I heard a few songs. I heard Dead Man Talking, and I thought that was a pretty good song. And I didn't get into some. I didn't get into Architects until later, but I did think that song was pretty cool. And Gravedigger, of course. I was just gonna go over the highlights. This is like a slightly heavier album. It's definitely better than Daybreaker. Definitely more like aggressive and dark, for sure. Um, Especially with the aforementioned tracks that I said, Gravedigger and Dead Man Talking, excellent songs. Colony Collapse is one I've always liked. Youth is Wasted on Young. Yeah, this is just a very solid album in my opinion. Definitely worthy of being in the top 5. Although with numbers 6, 5, and 4, it is kind of a battle because I think they're probably equally as good. Although they're all different albums for sure. Like all the albums that are, all three that are numbers 6, 5, and 4 are definitely like close, but they are different in sound. We'll see what number 4 is right now, but first, there, Lost Together, Lost Forever, definitely solid. Now we gotta find out what number 4 is, and it is For Those That Wish to Exist. I definitely think that this album is very good. Still maintaining a lot of that like flair. This is the first one like without any involvement from Tom Searle, who passed away in 2016 after All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us, which we'll get to that album. It is definitely in the top 3 at this point. So yeah, it's just a strong album, I think. Like, there's just a lot of like there's a lot of depth and stuff to it. In my opinion, like, yeah, it's just you can't go wrong with it. Actually, I have the track list here because I have the live album. So I'll just show it to you. This is the live album that I have. I'll probably just show this just for the sake of doing it. Yeah, because this album stupidly didn't come with a track listing. It just comes with pictures. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of good songs. Black Lungs and Animals, definitely some very good singles. Discourse is Dead, I've always enjoyed. And Permanence, definitely, I've always enjoyed Permanence. Yeah, even some of the throwaway tracks on here, like Flight Without Feathers, and then like Libertine, Dying is Absolutely Safe. Dying is Absolutely Safe is very different for Architects. It feels kind of like a Red closing track. Like, if you know what I mean, like something Red would have done on, I don't know, like Of Beauty and Rage or something like that. It's a very solid like closer. And I know that's kind of a weird comparison, like, but like they kind of doubled down on that orchestral sound on this one, as well as like going more mainstream rock somewhat, because Animals did really well on the charts. And yeah, I just feel like this album is a very strong statement, very strong lyrically as well. And here's the live version too, with the actual orchestra. Like, this one is very good as well. I like the way they did some of the songs on this little release here. Yeah, this For Those That Wish to Exist cycle is still definitely a very good like time in Architects history, because they got a lot of success from this, and rightfully so, because this album is just that good. How about we go to the top 3, and we have Hollow Crown by Architects. Again, the album that broke them through, and like, man, what a statement after coming from Room, which wasn't all that great, but it was still pretty good. Hollow Crown is definitely what Architects was good at early on in their career, with kind of that mathcore sensibility, as well as other stuff too, like with trying to like go with into that metalcore like sensibility as well. And Sam Carter totally nails it on a lot of this album, I think. Like from Dethroned and Follow the Water and Elegance. And then, like, there's several other songs too. Borrow Time, Dead March, Hollow Crown, the title track itself, Early Grave. Like, there's just so much to really, like, enjoy about this album. Like, this showed that Architects had a lot of potential in them, and it showed, like, how strong that this album was. And that, like, like, it's just very good. Like, even, like, then, like, I mean, this sounds nothing like what they are now, but, like, if you want to go back and listen to, like, very heavy Architects, this is a very good album to get that started. This is a very genuinely good album. Hollow Crown by Architects coming in number 3, and now we have our top 2. So let's get that out of the way. We have All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us, of course, which is a very good album. And, like, this was actually the second one that I ever bought and, like, ever, like, listened to when I got into Architects. I'm just going to show this right here. It's very good. So, yeah, there's a lot of bangers on this album, I think. Like, this is the last album of Tom Searle before he passed away, and he went out on a bang with this album. Like, definitely. Like, what a champion, too, to go through cancer at 27 and still, like, put out amazing music. I mean, hats off to him. He's definitely good. Especially when you get to stuff like Nihilist, and you get to stuff like Gone with the Wind, Empty Hourglass, which is a fantastic song, Match Made in Heaven, Phantom Fear, and then, like, stuff like From the Wilderness and Memento Mori. Definitely amazing stuff. Definitely amazing, heavy, dark. Like, this is, like, at their most dark, I think. Like, yeah, I just think it's a strong album. Like, very strong album. One of the best of 2016 for sure. And, like, yeah, Architects just put it out of the park. They just nailed it. They did a good job with this one. Like, I can't believe, like, when I first heard this album in 2016, I didn't really care for it. And then I got to Architects a couple years later for obvious reasons. Heard this album and then loved it. And then, yeah. That should be an interesting video I do sometime around the line. Albums that I didn't like first and now I like. This album would definitely probably be on that list. So, yeah. And now we get to our number 1 pick, and it should be no surprise what's my favorite album from Architects. Holy Hell is it. I mean, this album is just fantastic, and it's just... what a great metalcore album. Especially, like, in the time when metalcore, like, was kind of getting generic and stuff. Architects really hit it out of the park with Holy Hell, which is it's just a fantastic album. Like, there's so many good songs on this album. So many classic, like, instant, like, modern classic songs, for sure. This whole playback is just full of it. This is, like, their best album. This is, like, definitely worthy of, like, any attention it got. Death Is Not Defeat is a good song. Royal Beggar is fantastic. Mortal After All, Modern Misery, I Wasted Him, and of course, the one song, Doomsday, and The Seventh Circle. Like, I'm just naming off several different songs here. They're all strong. It's heavy, which is good. It has a lot of, like, personality to it. It's dark, but at the same time, there's a little bit of optimism and, like, memorialism since Tom Searle had passed away. Josh from Silosis came into the band to help out. And, yeah, this is, like, the best that Architects could ever do. Like, this is, like, their high point, and I doubt that they will ever get as good as Holy Hell, because, yeah, it's just a fantastic album in my opinion. Just go check it out, and check out all the Architects albums and that are here. They're all pretty good. I mean, you could make an argument for some of their weaker stuff, but even that you should probably check out to see for yourself. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We are going on 20 minutes here almost, so Definitely let me know what you think in the comment section down below. This is Scamp the Wolf signing out. Take care.